Om Shanti. Good morning. Today, Baba is taking up the matter of those who go to the Golden Age without taking Gyan. Something new. And this is the scientists. So Baba has made a number of predictions about the scientific and technological community. And of course, there are a lot of BKs who are IT professionals and other types of scientific and technical and engineering capabilities. But especially the origin of the technology of the Golden Age. When people think of heaven, they think of people prancing around in nature. It's really not like that. It's a very high-tech civilization, which is ecologically sensitive and sustainable. And they use clean nuclear energy and electricity that is generated also through clean nuclear energy. And so the people who are right at the cutting edge of science, technology, and engineering are somewhat reserved for military use at this time. So these people will be very sensible that if there's going to be nuclear war, they're not going to sit down anywhere and get nuked. So on the whole, we can understand that they will be going into space for watching the destruction from there, which is a safe place. And it's interesting to note that people who are multi-billionaires are currently practicing to have space tourism. And the space tourism is going to give them the possibility to not be taken out by the forthcoming nuclear war. That means they know something the public doesn't know. And that also means that it's not very far away in the future. So BKs don't have a clear timeline as to what happens when, but we can understand that we have to be somewhat more ready than we are. So these people will carry into space all the knowledge of science and technology and engineering with them, because their idea is that they will come down and they will start off a new world. And there's tons of science fiction stories and movies to that effect. And according to Baba's predictions, they will come down in India because it will be free from nuclear radiation poisoning and all that. Then they will find that there's already people there, that those people there are a combination of the advanced party, what Baba has called the new people, so they're almost deities, some BKs, some ordinary people, some military. And they will offer all of their scientific knowledge to those who are there in India. And so we have to be ready for all this. And so they will be in the Golden Age. They will set up factories. They will bring the skills for building buildings that are good according to all the systems that are needed for sustainable life, good quality life, high-tech life, but which is friendly to the environment. So the essence, this is December 20th, and the essence, sweet children, churn the ocean of knowledge about what you hear, and this knowledge will then drip into your intellects throughout the day. You will get insights which will spark your thinking. And the question is, what skills of the present time will be useful in establishing the new world? And the answer is the sanskaras of the skills of science with which they build airplanes and buildings, etc. So we won't have big jumbo jets in the golden age, but small airplanes, which are 1-seater, 2-seater, or 4-seater. You don't need more than that. And so they will go to the golden age. Although they may not take knowledge here, those skills will go with them there. You now know the history and geography from the beginning of the golden age to the end of the iron age. And you know that everything that you can see through your eyes of the old world will now be destroyed. That includes the landscape and everything that you could possibly see, all the people, all the things, and possibly even your relationship with the sky will be different because the earth will be positioned differently. So the song is, you spent the whole night sleeping and the whole day eating. What did you do with your time? This is the question. Om Shanti. The Father is sitting here explaining to you children, and just as he explained to you 5,000 years ago, similarly, he is now explaining to you in the same way how the old world is destroyed and how the new golden aged world is established. It is now the confluence of the old and the new. So bits and pieces of the old world are already getting destroyed, and seeds of the new world are there. The Father has explained to you what has been happening from the beginning of the new world of the golden age up until the end of the iron age. He explains to you that all the things, the equipment that is there and everything that you see, people have sacrificial fires, they do tapasya, donations, punya. None of this, all of the religious buildings, equipment, scriptures, rituals, all of that will be gone. None of the old things will remain. When an old building is demolished, the good materials from it, like the marble, etc., are kept aside, and the rest is destroyed. You children know that all these old things are going to be destroyed. The skills of science will remain all the time. That means they will not be destroyed by the destruction. All of you know how this world cycle turns and what happens from the golden age until the end of the iron age. The science is also knowledge through which airplanes and electricity have all been invented, and they did not exist previously. So all of this is the 20th century, that 100 years. They didn't exist previously, but have been invented recently. So Brahma Baba's age is about the same as the age of this house where we are living in. And so this house used to be powered by gas. They had gas lighting, not electricity. So, and running water, electricity, all this came during that time. So Baba saw a lot of these inventions. The world will continue. When you hear this word world in the Murli, it doesn't refer to the planet. It refers to human society. So human society will continue. Bharat is an eternal land. That means there will always be people in India. There will not be total annihilation. So there will be annihilation of the other lands where there is nuclear war, no survivors, but there's no nuclear explosions in India. There is civil war and natural calamities, but there are survivors. The skills of science through which you receive so much happiness, happiness means convenience in this case, also exist there. Things that you have learned are useful even in your next birth. Some things will still remain, like science and technology and arts and other kind of culinary knowledge, all these things. Here, when an earthquake happens somewhere, they quickly build everything new again. Now, they can't because there are too many disasters happening, and the possibility of restoring the destroyed areas to a decent condition is no longer there. So that's a very serious problem for people. And there, in the new world, there will be people who build airplanes, etc. The human world will continue, and those who manufacture those things will come again also. Their final thoughts will lead them to their destination. So, whatever is your last thought before you leave your body, that will take you to your new birth. So, although they do not have this knowledge, they will definitely come and invent new things, or they will make practical those things that they know. You have these thoughts in your intellects at this time. All these things will finish, and just the land that is the human society of Bharat will remain. You are warriors, and you are establishing self-sovereignty, that is independence for yourselves, with the power of yoga. It starts with independence in the confluence age. And what is that independence? There, everything will be new. Even the elements that are now tamopradhan will be satopradhan. And you too are now becoming pure in order to go to the pure new world. So when the new world is established, we will not need any items from the old world because they're made of tamopradhan elements. But we will need the knowledge of technology and science. You children know that you will learn all these things and become very clever. You will become very sweet flowers. And when you relate these things to other people, they become very happy. The better you explain to people, the happier they are with you. You say, you explain very well. However, when you ask them to write their opinion, they say, I will think about it. How can I write in such a short time? So the opinion Baba is talking about is he wants to collect up people's written statements, signed and written statements that God is not omnipresent and Krishna is not the speaker of the Gita. This is the opinion he wants. So I cannot learn how to have yoga with the Father just by hearing this once. So they do like it. It doesn't mean that they take it up. You must definitely explain to them that this old world is to be destroyed, and there is a very heavy weight of sin on your heads. This is the impure world in which you have committed many sins. Everyone in the kingdom of Ravan is impure, and this is why people call out to the purifier Father. You have this knowledge at this time. In the Golden Age, no one is aware that after the Golden Age comes the Silver Age, so no one is aware that they are in decline. There in the Golden Age, they experience their reward, the reward of the Confluence Age. You children are now becoming very well informed. You know that the spiritual father is teaching you. Samajhdar is not necessarily wise. You can know everything but still not be wise. But at least you are well informed. Baba is the world almighty authority. So the word authority in the Murli, some people had asked questions about this. Authority means the person who knows. It doesn't mean the person who controls everything. And so the Hindi of Sarvashaktivan refers to omnipotence. And what powers does Baba have? He has the 8 powers. He doesn't use his power indiscriminately and recklessly as a human might do who gets power. So people don't understand this expression, world almighty authority. So the next sentence, whereas those people are authorities of the scriptures. So this word authority has to do with knowing the difference between what's true and what's not true. Those people who study the scriptures cannot be called the Almighty. All scriptures belong to the path of devotion, whereas the Father is teaching you new things for the new world. So the people who know the scriptures can get a little bit of occult power, but they cannot get the power to make the world into heaven. So you children should experience a lot of happiness throughout the day. This knowledge should drip into your intellect. So sparks, bits of moments of understanding. This is what is meant, not trickle. Students review whatever they have studied. That means they learn something and they commit it to memory. This is the usual system, especially in India. Whereas here, this is called churning the ocean of knowledge. You have to go into the depth of it and move it around and around. Otherwise, you cannot decode it. You understand that Baba is teaching you an unlimited study. That means he is sitting here and telling you the secrets of the beginning, the middle, and the end of the world. So he's telling you what it is and how it is what it is. No one apart from you can understand these things. And this is why you should experience a lot of happiness. You are very important people. Are you very important people? Yes. You are very important people. Why? It's a very important question to ask yourself. If he says you're important, it means you are. But then what does that mean? The one who is teaching you is the highest on high Father. So you're important because you hold the information. So the mercury of your happiness should remain constantly high. Make your intellects constantly review these things. How you were pure in the beginning and how you then became impure while taking 84 births. Now, according to the drama plan, Baba is purifying you. All the sages and holy men say that we do not know the Father, the Creator, or the beginning, middle, and end of the creation. Not only they say we do not know, they say it cannot be known. You know that Christ will come again at his own time. And it was as though the Christians had their kingdom over the whole world. But how could that be possible? So they used to say for the British Empire that the sun never sets because it covered enough territory but it didn't cover everything. So how can everyone have the same divine directions? What that sentence means, how can everybody follow the same religion? Because when you become a global power, you want to impose your philosophy and culture on the whole world. Like we have nowadays, the biggest power in the world is United States. And so there is definitely this idea everybody should be a democracy, everyone should eat from McDonald's, the whole culture and ideas comes along with the political taking over territories. So Baba says, how can everyone have the same divine directions? That means that although they say that they want there to be the kingdom of Ram, they don't understand anything. So that means the Gandhi people he's talking about, they want the kingdom of Ram, but they don't understand that that refers to the whole world, and they don't know exactly what the kingdom of Ram is. So previously, you also didn't know anything. You have now become Brahmins, and you know that your age, the confluence age, is separate from the age where everybody else is living, the Iron Age. So this Brahman Dharma, I'm not going to call it a religion because it really is not a religion. And there are people who think it is a religion, but I think that they haven't understood. So this Brahman Dharma is established at the confluence age through the mouth of Brahma. You Brahmins are Raj Rishis, kings as well as renunciates. You're pure and you are attaining your kingdom from Shiv Baba. Those people have yoga with the element of Brahma, that element of light, not with the Father. Some have yoga with one thing, others have yoga with something else. So yoga means it's like what you believe in. Some worship one deity and others worship someone else, or they worship the founder of a religion. But no one knows who the highest on high is. And this is why the Father says all of them are called Asari Sampradaya, the devilish community who have degraded intellects. That means that they hold on to ideas that are incoherent, logically impossible, and they can't actually live according to them. They're slaves of Ravan. That means slaves of the sense impressions. You now belong to Shiv Baba, and you receive the inheritance of the new world, of the golden age, from the Father. And the Father says, "O souls, you now definitely have to become Sato Pradhan from Tamo Pradhan, and you must therefore remember me alone." This is something so simple. In the Gita, they have given the name of Krishna as the speaker, and they show that he lived in the Copper Age. So this is a very big mistake. However, these things will sit in the intellects of those who come here regularly. Many people come to the fairs, and look how saplings are planted from them. So you give people the seed of knowledge, but it doesn't necessarily grow. People from so many religions come, and in that there is a greater number of Hindus who are the worshippers of the deities. So you must also explain the meaning of pujanya, the worship worthy, and worshippers, pujari. That means puja is also connected with the idea of honoring. So you cannot explain too much at the exhibitions and fairs, just the basics. Some come for 4 or 5 months to understand these things, and from those, some will understand these things very well. The more exhibitions and fairs you have, the more people will come, and they will feel that this knowledge is very good, and they should therefore go and understand it. There are not as many pictures at the centers. There are more pictures at the exhibitions. So when you explain to them, they do like it. But when they go outside, where there is the atmosphere of Maya, they become engrossed in their business, etc. So this old world is now to be destroyed, and the new world is to be created. Baba is establishing the sovereignty of heaven for us. We will go to the new world and build palaces. The palaces of the Golden Age will not come up from underground. So there is a belief that the palaces of the Golden Age sank underground because what we call the small destruction, which is not very small, involved a lot of earthquakes in between the Silver Age and the Copper Age. And so some of that might be discovered by archaeologists. And now people are beginning to discover that the people of ancient times had perfect bodies. And they can't figure that out because it doesn't fit with the concept of evolution. You know, whenever you see a picture of an ancient person, it looks like somebody really ape-like. So the first and main thing you have to have faith in is that he is your father and also your teacher. He is the seed of the human world tree. He has all the knowledge. And this is why he is praised as being the ocean of knowledge. A physical seed is non-living and cannot speak, whereas this one is living. So living means conscious. The Father has given you all the knowledge which you have to explain to others very clearly. So many people come to the fairs and exhibitions, but only a handful out of multi-millions emerge. They come for 7 or 8 days and then they disappear. But keep doing this and some or another will emerge. There is very little time, and destruction is right ahead. You definitely must achieve your karmatit stage. Remembrance is most essential for becoming pure from impure. You must look after yourselves. Have the concern to become satopradhan, because each of you has a weight of sin of many births on your head. You have continued to descend the ladder because this is the kingdom of Ravan. And you now have to ascend with the power of yoga. Day and night, have the concern to become satopradhan. Your intellects also need the knowledge of the world cycle. In school also, students are concerned to pass in certain subjects. And the main subject here is remembrance. You also need to have the knowledge of the beginning, the middle, and the end of the world. Your intellects have the knowledge of the whole ladder and how you are climbing the ladder to the golden aged Sun dynasty by having remembrance of Baba. You have continued to descend the ladder while taking 84 births, and now you have to climb up again quickly. So reverse the effect of time in one birth. They say Jivan Mukti in a second. You will claim the inheritance of liberation in life, Jivan Mukti, from the Father in this birth and become deities. The Father says, children, you were part of the Sun dynasty. Then you went into the Moon dynasty and then the Merchant dynasty. Now I am making you into Brahmins. Brahmins are the top knot. So the hair is part of the body, but not part of the body. So the top knot means that you're part of the world, but not, because hair is separate from the body in that you can cut it off. You won't die. God, the highest on high, comes and establishes 3 religions or dharmas, civilizations: Brahmin, deity, and Kshatriya. You know that we are now in the Brahmin clan, caste. Then we will go into the deity clan. The Father fills the intellects of you children with so much knowledge, which you then have to imbibe, absorb, understand. How else would you make others like yourselves? Very few people study and teach others very well and become part of the Sun dynasty kingdom. At this time, your ways and means, not ways and means, gut and mutt. Gut is your purpose, where you're going, and mutt is how you get there. So where you're going and how you get there is quite different from what anyone else is doing. And it is said that God's gut and mutt are different from anybody else's. So he takes you to the soul world, then to the golden age. And the means by which he does it is that he enables you to draw power from him directly, so that you can reverse the effect of time. Nobody else is doing that, right? So no one apart from you has yoga with the Father. So many come to the exhibitions and then they go away. So they become subjects. Those who study very well and teach others, claim a good status. This mission of yours will continue to become stronger, and many will then be attracted and continue to come here. So when he says mission, he's making a comparison with the missionaries of Christianity who go to India to convert people to Christianity. So that is called the mission. So you are a mission to get people to understand this knowledge. It takes time for something new to spread. Many pictures will be made very quickly. And as the days go by, the number of human beings in the world continues to increase. You know what the conditions will be when the war starts and the bombs start dropping. As the days go by, the human suffering will become unlimited. You know, it's a very interesting thing. There was a declaration today from the Pope who said that because of the restrictions of COVID, the levels of domestic violence have gone up to a huge extent because people are kept at home, and then the women are getting beaten up by their husbands. So this level of violence is very, very, very extreme. And also the refugee problem is really intensifying during the COVID times. So the COVID rules and regulations have intensified all the human problems, and getting COVID is just another problem, but it's not the only one. So eventually this world of suffering will come to an end. There will not be total destruction of all the people. There will not be total annihilation. It is remembered in the scriptures that Bharat is an imperishable land. That means there will be some survivors on that land, but it doesn't mean the other lands will disappear, but they will be depopulated. So you know that your accurate memorial is in Abu, so the Dilwara temple. And you have to explain that this is your inanimate memorial. The statues are the memorials to you. Establishment is taking place here in a practical way. You are studying Raj Yoga for Vaikunt, paradise. So the Dilwara temple has been created so beautifully, and we are also sitting there. Our memorial was created there before we came here. So the Dilwara temple was built in the year 1052. That means 1,000 years in the past. That means it's Iron Aged. Everybody thinks it was from the Copper Age, but no, Iron Age. So you are sitting here to claim the sovereignty of heaven. You say, Baba, I will definitely claim the kingdom from you. And those who remember this throughout the day and remind others will experience a lot of happiness. Students can understand for themselves whether they're going to pass or not. So few children out of hundreds of thousands receive a scholarship. So the 8 main ones, the 8 jewels, they're gold, the 108 are silver, and the 16,000 are copper. That means 900,000 are iron. So these are the prizes that you get. When you go for the Olympics, you get a gold, a silver, or a bronze medal. And they speak about the Bronze Age, which corresponds to the Copper Age. So, for example, when the Pope gives medals, he doesn't give everyone a gold medal. Some would get a gold medal, others a silver. And the rosary is also created like that. You want to claim the golden prize. By claiming the silver prize, you become part of the Moon dynasty. So Baba says, remember me, and your sins will be dissolved. There is no other way. So that also means that you can't use the word absolution, because absolution is like a blessing. It doesn't require any work, whereas this does require work. So we can't use the word absolution. So dissolved and resolved, but not absolved. There is no other way. Just have the concern to pass. When the upheaval of war increases, you will begin to make effort with great force. At the time of their exams, students busy themselves in making effort in order to gallop ahead. And this is an unlimited school. Continue to practice explaining at the exhibitions. People do not get impressed when they see projector shows, but they do become amazed when they see the exhibitions. And so what do people do? They make projector shows more and more. Because in those days, when things that are projected were shown, people couldn't really see it because people's perception were used to taking in information from living human beings, not from projections. But now it's changed, and projections are becoming more how you take in information. Acha. To the sweetest, beloved, long lost and now found children, love, remembrance, and good morning from the mother, the father, Bap Dada, and the spiritual father says namaste to the spiritual children. The spiritual children say namaste to the spiritual father. For the essence for dharana, before the old world is destroyed, make your stage karmatit. So that's a very interesting difference between having a karmatit stage and being karmatit. So think about that. Stay in remembrance and become satopradhan. Secondly, constantly maintain the happiness that the highest on high Father himself is teaching you. Study this very well and also teach others. Listen to this and churn the ocean of knowledge. And the blessing is, may you be soul conscious and experience being viceless in your angelic form. Well, that's quite similar to be in the karmatit stage. So children who become soul conscious easily become viceless. So what is the meaning of viceless? Is that you are not drawn by sense perception. That's the meaning. So with the soul conscious stage, you can experience the viceless stage even in your thoughts. Those who are viceless to this extent cannot be attracted by any type of impurity or any type of attraction of the 5 elements. So they are called angels. So who do BKs call angels? Not this kind of people. So we should stick to the definition. For this, while being in your corporeal body, remain stable in your incorporeal soul conscious stage. So You have to be quite adult to do this. Children can't do this because they haven't had enough life experience. So a real angel is somebody who is a very, very high stage, very experienced. So while being in your corporeal body, remain stable in your incorporeal soul conscious stage. And the slogan is, in order to experience supersensuous joy in your life, especially have love for solitude at Amrit Vela. The solitude at Amrit Vela means no music, no meditation commentaries, none of these events. But Amrit Vela is you are alone with God. Then you can take power. Om Shanti. Swaraj, being an authority of knowledge, being in the karmatit stage. I think these are all connected. Because when you use the word self-sovereignty, or the way I see BKs using the word self-sovereignty, how BKs talk about it and think about it, I pick up the idea that it's like you're building a religion and making a sort of gathering which is separate from the rest of the world. And I think that that is very fine, but it's not really what the purpose of Raj Yoga is. And so self-sovereignty, Swaraj, the way Gandhi was using it, was for political reasons, to become free from the rule of colonial powers. And then Baba says you are getting freedom from the rule of Ravan. And so he said in this Murli, when you're soul conscious, you can be viceless. And when you're soul conscious, you can be in the karmatit stage. So when you're soul conscious, you are not pulled by the pull of sense perception. You're not pulled by old sanskaras. You're not pulled by anything to do with the Iron Age, because you are entirely in the confluence age. And you have taken power from Shiv Baba. So you're in that stage. So karmatit and viceless and soul conscious and egoless is all the same thing. And for us to become like that, we have to be independent from all of these demands that there are around us. And there are a lot of forces and pressures that apply or are applied on people within the BK world. You have to do this, you can't do that, It takes up, a very, very large amount of time and energy. And so doing this pilgrimage of remembrance in the context of a community is very good, because then you're not actually physically alone. But then a lot of times the attention on giving importance to the community eclipses the purpose of the community. And people in Christian monasteries have the same problem. Anytime you get a spiritual community that forms itself for the purpose of supporting people's spiritual practice ends up doing the opposite. And so BK is not exempt from that trend. And what that means is we have to notice that and see, how do we be in this context without our spiritual practice getting eclipsed by it? And one thing that's quite interesting about the COVID rules and regulations is many places do not allow people to come together for gatherings that's not your Lokic family or your household or something like this. And now with this Omicron, there's more lockdowns getting enforced because it's spreading very quickly. And so the governments are doing that. But what it means for BKs is that, you know, doing service on the physical level is less. And now everyone is doing service using the internet, which means you don't have to physically be in contact with people. And people are seeing the Murlis online. And so it means that you really are not in the community physically in the same way as before the COVID time. And so that means that there's a lot more possibility to actually develop the yoga. But what's happening is that it's going on less. Though the circumstances are good for it to be going on more, but the actuality is it's going on less. And there are a lot of different bhattis and so on that are happening. And so people are watching it like a TV program or something like this. So it's not actually doing the job that it's intended to do. So this is a phenomenon to consider. So what are the energies that are preventing this? Because there are definitely energies preventing it. And one of them is the exponential increase in human suffering that's going on. And part of that is to do with massive natural disasters that are underreported. This massive domestic violence issue that is hardly reported, and a lot of big problems of population movement, because there's huge numbers of people having to escape from war and climate change effects, and they're trying to go somewhere else and they can't go to where they want to go. So all of this is creating an energy that is very, very heavy. Because whenever you get the energy of human suffering, you also get the energy of sin. Because human suffering occurs, why? Partly it's the consequences of your own sin, but another big part of it is the sin of governments who make you into collateral damage. This is also a big sin, but it's going on, and that's the way it is. But people don't look at it like that. But it's creating this energy, this very, very heavy negative energy. And I think it's important for BKs to be able to compute what is the amount of resistance that you have to resist. Because in earlier days in our BK practice, all you had to resist was your own sin. Now you have to resist this heavy sin that is going on in the world, which is very nebulous because it's very underreported or it's denied. And so you can feel it, but you don't know exactly what it is that you're feeling. And so it's becoming very extreme, a huge pressure on people. And Baba said that sin is a weight. So weight means pressure. And when there's a lot of pressure, you experience depression, and you experience also like giving up and lassitude. You can't move, you can't make effort, you can't deal with the problems, you can't hold yourself in your power. You just endure and carry on and kind of shut down. So a lot of people are doing that. And this is quite dangerous. We have to be careful about that. And he says that no matter what, you have to give highest priority to yourself, because there's nothing you can really do about what's going on. What's going on is destruction, bit by bit by bit, and it's going more and more. And it says in the Murli today, you're taking the sovereignty from Baba. And you take that through yoga. Baba said the big the subject of greatest importance is yoga. And people think yoga is meditation commentaries and this type of exercises, but actually it's not. So what is yoga? It's when you're by yourself in a gathering, or not in a gathering, but by yourself, resisting the distractions, focusing on Baba, resisting the weight, taking power from Baba to be able to lift off from this a very heavy magnetic pull that ties you to the earth. You're earthbound to the body, earthbound to bodily dharma, bodily relations, bodily experiences, illnesses, a lot of problems in relationships. So this is to do with very extreme situation of resistance, sin. And so Baba has said that you'll only really be able to handle this if you've been doing this practice for a very long time, because you will have accumulated power. And so you have to check and see, have you accumulated power or not? And I think most people have not. And that even within the BK world, there are many things happening to actually prevent it. And it's a phenomenon. It's, I think, a matter of priorities. So why do we do what we do? Because we think activities is service, and that's true. But when you have activities which take away your time and energy, then the balance of Gyan, Yoga, Dharana, and service is pushed more on service at the expense of Gyan, Yoga, Dharana. Even one thing we see historically in all of the activities connected with service is that people miss meditation, they miss Murli, they miss all sorts of things because you have to do this activity, and that has created an imbalance. And why do we do that? Many reasons. And partly we have to also understand that this is a circumstance that also requires resistance, but it doesn't require that you just shut down and do it. And yet that's what people do. So we have to think about this individually and collectively. So that's the thing.
Could you explain what astral world is and how it relates to subtle region?
The astral world is people who are practicing astral projection, and this is to do with the development of occult powers, which is to do with the practice of different types of bhakti exercises, and it has no connection whatsoever with the subtle world. And the subtle world is Baba's area, and he puts his images there. You can meet him there. You can experience your perfect form. But Baba had said some time ago that he's discouraging people from trying to go to the subtle region by using methods of astral projection, because there's a lot of interference of Maya. And then people start to do things that are done by the people who are trying to get occult powers, and then it becomes negative. And so Baba says, not allowed, and closed the doors. So what he wants is for us to understand the knowledge, because the purpose of the subtle region is to show people things visually that they could not understand conceptually. But now that all of the concepts are clarified, it's not needed to show people anything visually when they can perfectly well understand it conceptually. But ultimately, you will go to the subtle region for Dharmaraj. That is there. Is that clear? Astral projection is that you do certain practices where you can project your subtle body, and there you, this is occult power, building of occult power, and there you, usually what those people do is they connect with different ghosts, and then they use those ghosts to give the impression that they can do healing and stuff like that. But eventually it goes quite bad because the ghost will take his commission. There's a very well-known play called Faust from the 16th century, where all of this is described. And there are tons of people. Take, for example, what they say about Sai Baba, that he used to manifest different things or do different miracles and so on. So this is another example of that. And in people are very superstitious, and people are very impressed by somebody who can do some sort of miracle like that. And then they believe in those people. And so all this goes under the section of Maya. And, there are people who are very famous healers and who were able to develop occult powers that they used for a good purpose, but it's very, very rare that a person remains free from getting corrupted by the power that it gives you. And so it's definitely not recommended. And in the BK world, there are people who are able to go in trance, but they don't go in trance according to Srimat. They go in trance whenever they want. And so then they're doing astral projection and they're getting into a situation where other people start believing in them and they're bringing all kinds of messages from here, there, and everywhere, which are nothing to do with Gyan, but they get a following. People want a following. They want to become some sort of guru. And so all this is Maya. But definitely there will be tons of Maya around. This is normal. How is the rewards and some being leaders, subjects, or not being in the golden age not an appeal to the ego? Some people can try and get something on the basis of ego, but that's not going to work here. You can try, but it's not going to work because the whole point of Raj Yoga is the destruction of ego. And so the rewards are not being like put there as a temptation, but it's making it clear to you that this is a study. And if you study well, you'll get a first prize, second prize, third prize. And he wants you to get first prize. But if you think that that's going to be successful as an appeal to the ego, you're under a very big illusion because that is really not going to work.
Because of this very heavy conditioning, subjects, kings, queens, royalty, common people, and so on. And a similar language appears in the Murli. And so there is that connection. That's
definitely. Why. But, there is a difference between what's going on here and what's going on in the world. This is called the confluence age. And there are plenty of body conscious BKs. This is normal. But if you're body conscious and studying this knowledge from a body conscious angle, you won't get it. You just will not grasp it. You won't comprehend it. You will process it in a way that that shows that you just haven't understood a word. And of course, there's a lot of people like that. And this creates a lot of confusion because people like that think that they really got it, but they really haven't. And that's the way. I mean, people keep using the word easy. And another thing that I've also experienced quite a bit is that people can hear this knowledge a great deal, but they're hearing it in body consciousness. And so the way that they process the concepts keeps them having endlessly the same questions. And we were discussing this during the retreat in Anubhuti for the Los Angeles group. Why is it that people have the same questions that they've been having for the last 40, 50 years and not able to get past it? And it's basically because they're approaching Gyan from body consciousness, and they really don't know the difference between body consciousness and soul consciousness, regardless of having all the terminology, doesn't make any difference. To make your consciousness, soul consciousness from body consciousness, it's just not happening for most of the people. And so my contention is that, well, the teachers must be body conscious as well, because otherwise, if you're soul conscious, you should be able to communicate that difference of consciousness. And that's a deep thing. In India, there is a concept of a cycle that repeats exactly the same, similar to what Baba says. Is there? No. There is a concept of a cycle, but there's no concept of identical repetition. And they deeply believe in evolution. And BK is devolution. We are all going down. All deities are going to hell, and it takes 5,000 years to get there. And all BKs are going to heaven, and it takes 1 second to get there, but it takes a long time to get to that 1 second. And for BKs to grasp this idea of identical repetition, there's very few BKs can grasp it. There's a lot of BKs who say these words, but without really understanding it. The difference between imbibe and inculcate. Well, first of all, the people who use the word imbibe and inculcate do not read the dictionary. So inculcate is to make somebody else understand something. So a teacher will inculcate information into a student. That's the meaning of inculcate. And there are no BKs who know this because they don't read the dictionary. And they use English incorrectly. Imbibe means to drink in, and that is better than inculcate, because you cannot imbibe something into somebody else. You imbibe something into yourself, but inculcate, you do it into somebody else. That's the difference between those words. And so even though our BK language is incorrect English a lot of the time, but we're used to it and we know what it means, so we don't worry about it. No, imbibe, it just simply means drink. It doesn't mean intoxicating drinks, except in India, because the English as it's used in India is extremely different from English as it's used in other places. And so there is the word inebriated. Inebriated means you're drunk on alcohol. But imbibe is a Latin root word meaning drink. It's just a little bit more formal word, but it just has no other meaning than drink.
I drank water, I imbibed water.
I imbibed water, but you wouldn't say I imbibed water, but you also wouldn't say I imbibed whiskey. But you could say I imbibe knowledge. So that works better than inculcate. Because inculcate actually means you make somebody else take what you want to give them. That's the meaning of inculcate. The astral world is where you go into you make contact with ghosts, and you it's like if you're a clairvoyant and you can see stuff that's going on. You can see what's happening in people's minds. You can see people's immediate past, present, future, this type of thing, but not long term. Can I give a class about Maya? I give class about Maya all day long. Maya is very omnipresent. you don't connect with Bab Dada in the subtle region. You connect with Shiv Baba in the soul world. That's Raj Yoga. Connecting with Bab Dada in the subtle region, that will not get you to be karmatit. Well, he didn't say they get golden age sanskaras. What he said is that it's like a phenomenon, that they come to the golden age. They don't come to the golden age, actually. They come to India after the destruction, and they build the golden age. They build the transportation system. They set up factories. They set up all different types of high-tech manufacturing. They set up the clean nuclear power systems. And these things that they set up do not have, they do not wear out. They keep going. And then when they finished all that work, then they go back to the soul world. So they don't come to the golden age itself, but they come after the destruction to India for the reconstruction period. And then they go back to the soul world.
And they did
You're
that.
You're talking about scientists.
Scientists, yeah. And especially, to be specific, Tesla.
Yes. But you see, the problem of Tesla is that the companies, the electricity companies. No, I'm not talking about this Tesla motor cars. I'm talking about the actual Tesla who found out how you could get free energy. So the energy companies didn't like that, so they got rid of him and they destroyed him. And we know that. But his information would be known to the scientists who come after the destruction, and they will set it up because there's no power companies to stop it. That's the difference. And the problem in the world with benevolent people who have good intentions, is that they don't have the power to carry it to its final conclusion, and they don't have the power to deal with the opposition which wants to prevent them. Because the world of the Iron Age, either they will steal your material and make money out of it, or they will destroy you. And that's how the Iron Age is. It's about exploitation. It's about, taking advantage of people's good inventions. There are many examples of people who did not get any benefit from their inventions because it was stolen by people who wanted to make money out of it. And that's going on and on and on and on. Many people try to do that with the Gyan, but Baba has encoded the Gyan in such a way that you can't succeed in it, which is really very interesting how he did that. Because of what the Gyan is, it cannot be activated unless you're soul conscious and unless you churn. And this is his Shiv Baba's technology cannot be hacked by a human. And that's interesting. Okay, thinking about the definition of yoga, I think there are some mystics who have experienced it. Where do they fit in the cycle? They have experienced going to the world of light, and they called it yoga, but they didn't have contact with God. There are many mystics who have love for God, and even they have love for God and they have a lot of spiritual experiences, but they don't have contact with God in the way that God enables us to have contact with him, because they don't have any knowledge. So these are people who are able to acquire spiritual powers from their spiritual practices. And Baba calls that Hatha Yoga, and he calls this Raja Yoga. And those people fit into the cycle after the Copper Age. There were many people like this in the Copper Age, and some of them became the founders of religions, and most of them not. In my imagination, the time after destruction is when dinosaurs eat, process, and purify the biosphere. I don't think so. I have been to the Canadian Badlands where the dinosaur skeletons are visible to people who want to look at them. And they definitely are not in the future. They're in the past, but I don't think they're to do with I don't think they're necessarily to do with sorting out the biosphere. I don't think there were that many. One thing we know about dinosaurs is they all died at the same time and that they did not endure very long. So my feeling about dinosaurs is they are basically lizards who mutated in terms of size. And I would think if you want to have dinosaurs now, that because of all this DNA modification that's possible, if I would be one of those scientists with the evil twist in the mind, I would definitely create some dinosaurs, because I think you can, and let them loose, or maybe they escape or something. But the signs of dinosaurs is that there are, human footprints on the same footprint as the dinosaur footprint. So they coexisted with human beings, and it was definitely a very destruction time. So maybe it could be at this time, but I don't think they're very much useful in eating, processing, and purifying the biosphere. I think that happens through our yoga in combination with the natural calamities where the biosphere is affected by huge rain, you see, because when you drop nuclear bombs in large quantities all over the place, the one thing it does is it detonates all the fault lines, and so all of the tectonic plates move around a lot, which means the oceans start pouring over the land with tsunamis 100 miles high, because there's a lot of water in there, and the winds and all of this stuff. Nature will definitely reset itself, and it needs something a whole lot more powerful than a bunch of dinosaurs. But I think the dinosaurs are there as a mutation, which can be either human-made or created by some of the effects of the nuclear war. But they don't last very long. And Baba has said also that there are 2 world wars. One is called the dress rehearsal, and one is the final one, and there are 2 years in between. So that information has sort of disappeared from the BK knowledge, but it's there. And so you could have dinosaurs appearing in the first one and disappearing in the second one. There's a possibility, but we don't know. It's all a simulation. It's all occurring in the mind. There's no corporeal absolute, it seems, only 3 dots. So be it. So be it.
Someone asked this question from yesterday's Murli. Baba said, even if you use something for your children, you do that according to directions. And then further, it was mentioned, you do not mix the dictates of your own minds with that which has been given to you in trust. So you have received sustenance was sustenance through Brahma, the mother. And then further down, Baba said, you do not put this sustenance into a practical form.
Mhm.
And that's why you do not have enough strength.
Mhm.
So the question is, the question is related to these, that what are the directions of doing something for your children, Lokik children?
Mm. Okay. Doing something for your Lokik children, Baba had given a general direction to BKs who really properly recognize Baba and really dedicate themselves to this. He has said, if it is your daughter and she does not take knowledge and she wants to get married, then you must handle the expenses of that. If it is your son, then you are not obliged to handle his expenses because according to the Indian social system, he is able to earn money for himself, whereas the daughter is not. And the social system actually denies the daughter the right to, and also the obligation to take care of herself. And so the social system is that you have to take care of your daughter, but you don't have to take care of your son because the social setup is designed for him to be able to make money. And if she has to try and look after herself, the social system will deny her at every level.
I think all these three are connected.
Mhm.
The second sentence that Baba spoke is, you don't mix the dictates of your own minds with that which has been given to you in trust, do you?
So when he says that, he's talking about this conflict that goes on in the minds of people, which is the conflict between bhakti and gyan. And it's very, very difficult to resolve that conflict because most BKs cannot really tell the difference when it comes to social systems. And so it's a very contentious matter. But in the time when Brahma Baba was giving directions physically to people or through the dadis, and those two times have now passed, if somebody was, say, dedicated and in a center, and then they were the trustees to receive whatever donations and so on were coming in, and if they got an attachment with somebody or they had their relatives coming, they would favor those people. And then that means they're going according to the traditions of the Iron Age of India and not according to the ways of Gyan. And a lot of people don't get that. They really don't get it. But it is like that.
Here, Baba is saying this in the context of those who live on the household path.
Well, if you live on the household path and you consider all of your stuff as belonging to Baba, then you will use it according to his directions. But your problem is that all the other people around you will try to get you to use it according to the customs of Iron Age India. So whether you're in the center or whether you're in the household, you're still exposed to these pressures. And either way, you have to resist it. And you may or may not do it.
And the third question or guidance needed is, Baba is saying, so all of you Brahmin souls are receiving godly sustenance. Sustenance is given to you to make you powerful. The practical form of sustenance received from the mother, Lokik mother, is that the child becomes strong. So you have all become master almighty authorities. With the sustenance, given through Brahma the mother. However, some of you children use the powers all the time, whereas others do not use the powers all the time. How to put this sustenance into a practical form? That's the question.
I would say just do it. He says you're not doing it, so do it. And the sustenance originates in Gyan, right? Gyan is the sustenance. And so what is he saying is people really don't quite understand how to do yoga, so they can't take power, and they don't churn their knowledge, so they can't take power, they can't digest it. And so Baba is saying, meditate properly and churn properly. And so do it. Of course, there are people who don't get it. And you can't make a person get it if they don't get it. Only thing you can do, which he also mentioned in the Murli today, is people who come regularly, they are able to grasp it because you have a lot of exposure, you have immersion, you have, he tells you the knowledge a million different ways every day, there are discussions and so on. And so hopefully one day, you get it. The light goes on. Some people, the light goes on very quickly, and some people it takes forever, and it may not go on. But you have a better chance if you are here and hearing it and being in the atmosphere, and that's better. But there are just so many who take a little bit of gyan and mix it into what they're already doing and say, I'm a BK. And okay, but not really. So what we're trying to do here is take it from a superficial level and make it go deeper and deeper and deeper, because then it goes in and you have clarity. And then you are close to Baba, and you become viceless, egoless, avyakta stage, independent, all of these things. But, some are gold, some are silver, some are bronze, and some are iron. And the gold are very few, the silver are also very few, and the copper are more, but the most are iron. And so he is saying that he gives the knowledge to everyone equally, but very few people will grasp it to the point of being able to apply it in such a way that they can actually claim the golden prize. And this is how it is. It's like in any kind of education, everybody usually gets as far as kindergarten. And then less people go higher up. And how many people are the most educated? Very few really well-educated people in the Lokik world. I mean, you can get all kinds of certifications, but that doesn't make you educated.
Any guidance on what to do when experiencing insomnia, which disrupts BK practice timetable? Have tried some natural sleep aids, but not with much luck.
What you'd have to do is to meditate when you can, because what you need is to build up power. And if you cannot, due to insomnia, go through the routine, the BK routine, then you have to create a routine that works for you. And at the time when you can meditate, then do meditate and build up your power. And at the time when you're supposed to be sleeping at night, there are a lot of people who have this problem. And some people, they actually, I mean, there are people who put on my classes and fall asleep really quick. I hope it's not because they're boring. But anyway, I know that that's an option. You can put on the Avyak Bapdada's Murli, which is very slow and very, nice vibration. Because I think insomnia occurs when a person is wired, tension. And, there are very few people who are not highly stressed, especially BK is a very, very stressed group of people. And so there's an effect on the body, on the rhythms, on the sleep systems, and so on. So you have to find little tricks to get around it and not make yourself upset because you can't do something that you think you're supposed to do. Because all of these things are really good. All these methods that we use, they're really good. But there are a lot of things that interfere with them. And so you have to just do what you can and adjust things to make it work for you. And then aim to get into that routine if you can. But if you can't, don't give yourself a hard time over it.
From yesterday's Murli, I think for being wiseless, if you have any traces of vice, it will not allow other souls to be transformed from the Shudra clan to the Brahmin clan. How can we block other souls' fortunes karmically?
I think you should not really worry about that one because you're just going to make yourself crazy trying to not block other people's fortune. The thing is, what it actually is talking about is that if you have a motivation other than pure gyan because of a vice, but it takes the form of a motivation rather than an all-out thing. It's not a trace, it's quite a big thing, not just a little trace. Then it means that your interaction with other people will be compromised. And you don't do that, Neza. I know you don't do that, so don't worry about it.
I think recently Dennis Ben was going to formalize the steps of correct way to meditate. Do we have access to that yet?
Well, I've done that sort of thing from time to time, but we'll do it again.
Stelling was caught trying to police other BKs. So.
Oh, yes. Yes. We are not here to police other BKs. And also they are not here to police us. It works both ways. Okay, so I think that's everything. Let's just finish with a moment of Baba's remembrance and have a wonderful day. Om Shanti.